not a big Transformers fan, but when this movie was over, the little boy behind me who was there with his family stood up and proclaimed, "I loved that movie. It's my new favorite film." And this movie couldn't ask for stronger praise. That totally made my evening and helped shape this review. So I'm glad that I saw it. You know, I keep telling you, Super Mario Brothers, if there had been fans in that audience with us critics, maybe things would have gone down a little bit differently. But I knew that this movie was a home run with clearly what's its intended audience, the littlest Transformers fans. There were a decent number of kids at my showing. This was an early fan screening for the film. All of them very well behaved. They were zeroed in on the movie. Like, what's going to happen next? This is incredible. So that was good. But there were disruptions from the parents. The parents were not engaged. I mean, don't you want to talk to your kid about the movie afterwards? Even if you're not feeling it, you got to pay attention so you have the talking points afterwards, I would imagine. The worst was by far, and for context, we were in a dine-in theater, the iPic here in New York City. And there was a Karen a few rows ahead of me, and I don't know why this didn't bother her children, but she actually turned her cell phone light on and balanced it on the edge of her table and had her dinner plate in her lap, because it was a dine-in theater, and kept the light on to illuminate her food while she ate, like we were on a plane at night, and they turned off the cabin lights, but she wanted her overhead light on. I couldn't believe it. Luckily, a theater employee eventually got her to turn it off. But Hollywood wonders why less and less people are going to the movies. So just understand that this is the kind of movie this is, and you just have to be at peace with maybe some of the interruptions that you might experience if you choose to see it in theaters. Should you see Transformers 1 in theaters? If you're a Transformers fan, heck yeah! If not, no, I don't think you should. Allow me to explain. That's not to say that the movie doesn't have merit, and as a non-fan who watched it anyway to review it, I did end up enjoying certain parts of the film, and I'm going to break that down. So we'll discuss it, and don't worry, this is a non-spoiler review, because there are spoilers to be had. Now, as we all know, this isn't a spoiler because this is the setup for the film. It's a prequel, it's an origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron, who start out as Orion Pax and D-16. Josh Cooley has jumped over from Pixar to direct. He was a director on Toy Story 4. And Orion Pax and D-16 have sort of a Woody and Buzz vibe going on. Not like one's Woody and one's Buzz. They're kind of like two Buzzes almost. But, you know, that dynamic is certainly there. And also taking a page from Pixar, Transformers 1 is more sophisticated than you would expect. In the third act, when we see the birth of Optimus Prime and Megatron, it's pretty powerful moving stuff. And even I was intrigued. Even I was like, move over, kid. That's what's happening. Nom, 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 nom. You know, the sequence was really well done, not only visually, but emotionally. The feels. Particularly when D-16, consumed by hatred, transformed. Different take on Transformers. And that, of course, is something we're seeing in the real world today. Truly tragic. It's like, man, that was incredible. Now, speaking of toys, perhaps that's also a reason that Hasbro and Paramount brought over Cooley with his Toy Story experience, as our Transformers here very often look like toys and have the look of toys. Toys for particularly young children. You know, these are like, I forget the name, the particularly big chunky ones, not even the more ornate action figures for kids as they get older. And maybe, though, that's why that even though the story became so sophisticated and dark as it progressed, it was still able to hold the attention of the youngest members of the audience. They're like, what are my toys doing? This is incredible. And on that note, as many of ourselves remember, it's the darkest films that truly capture a child's attention, the ones that really stick with you. And so I know the original Transformers animated movie was responsible for a generation of fans, and maybe this one will be able to do the same. Wouldn't that be nice? The film is dark, but responsibly so. I don't see anything that parents would need to be concerned about. In fact, I think the movie has a lot of really important lessons, many of which are particularly applicable to today. The world building was nice too. I think my favorite element was that in Iacon City, look at me, I know I'm talking about Iacon City. The road would build out in front of you as you traveled or drove. I thought that was cool. It was very hypnotic and calming. You were like, here it comes. The road just like, as you went along, the road would just, appear in front of you. And I just thought that was neat. And the voice work is excellent, as you would expect with the all-star cast that this movie has. But they're not phoning it in. They care. Now, again, as I said, I'm not a huge Transformers fan. And another thing I find fascinating about this movie is that even though I've seen every live-action Transformers film to date, and there have been a plethora, this is the first time that I actually felt I started to understand the mythology of the franchise. I was like, oh, okay, Cybertron, this is how it works. That's how they get all their transformation abilities. I started to be able to see it. And that also was a nice thing to finally kind of understand. So that's something else that this movie has going for it. And it is hilarious that I've watched so many live action movies and still really didn't understand the mythology. But also because I'm not a fan, though, I don't feel it's blasphemous to have someone else besides Peter Cullen voicing Optimus Prime. And we'll have to wait to find out if hardcore fans can get over it. The kid behind me didn't care. He just loves Optimus Prime, and I think bottom line, that's what's the most important. And honestly, Chris Hemsworth does an excellent approximation of Cullen's work, but also making it his own. I thought he did a really fantastic job here. But the juicier role by far is Brian Tyree Henry's D-16, who has to sell us on his character's transformation from easygoing best friend to arch enemy. And he does it, not just with his acting, but thanks to a fantastic script. There's one moment when he finally truly turns on Orion Pax. And it was probably one of the most powerful moments I've seen in animation or live action. Because when you think about it, we never really see in any form of entertainment a hero truly become evil that isn't in a cartoonish way, that we regret and condemn, but understand. I mean, it was really amazing. Josh Cooley, his writing team, and Henry should all be very proud of that moment in the film. It was really noteworthy. If you're a film fan, at some point, it might be worth seeing the film for that alone. I was impressed. Certainly if you're into animation, I think it's worth checking out. Lawrence Fishburne does a pretty good Peter Cullen impression as well. There's no lack of strong baritones in this movie, and he both narrates as well as voices a Transformer. He's fantastic as always. Scarlett Johansson and John Hamm are also very nice, but Steve Buscemi, I didn't really think he fit in the movie. I was like, what's Steve Buscemi doing in here? That's crazy. But Keegan Michael Key, hilarious, clearly playing an early version of Bumblebee. It's a shame he's going to eventually lose his voice box because he really delivers the comedic relief. I will never get tired of hearing Badassatron. Oh, it made me laugh every time. I thought it was so funny. But Key does a lot to make the entire first 2/3 of the movie engaging before we get to the dramatic stuff at the end. Also, there's an Iacon 5000 sequence, a big race through the city, that's also fun, even for non-fans. So that's a lot of positive. Why didn't I love the movie? Why wouldn't I recommend it to non-fans? Well, like with all Transformers movies, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell what you're looking at. The visuals are so busy from the Transformers themselves to Iacon City that sometimes it's just a wall of techno garbledy-gook. You're like, what? I can't tell you what vehicle Alita becomes. I'm like, I think it's a motorcycle, but I wasn't sure. And Optimus Prime never really turns into a truck in the movie. Like, I saw parts of a truck, but I don't know, I never really saw the truck. His final form was pretty cool, though. No spoilers, but even I was like, well, I think fans are going to like that. I'm not a fan, and even I could tell it was cool. The coolest Transformer, though, overall, in my opinion, was Arachnid. Get it? She's not only a spider, but a helicopter. I thought her design was really cool and complex. I still have no idea why this alien planet of machines turns into Earth-human vehicles, or why a living being would want to become an inanimate object. I just don't get it. Knife hands? Awesome. Tires? Why do you want tires? Can't you guys propel yourselves with jetpacks? I just don't get it. So this movie, as you can see, did not make me a Transformers fan, but it did make me better understand the franchise and appreciate it from an intellectual perspective. I'd never recommend this to a non-Transformers fan, but if you know a Transformers fan who wants to see this and is like, come with me, you can go. You'll have a nice time. Largely thanks to how seriously the movie takes the source material, the voice work, the comedy from Key, and that incredible third act. You'll be like, ooh, I'm glad I came. Just realize that outside of the Iacon 5000 race and a cool flashback sequence with Lawrence Fishburne, the first 2/3 of the movie they're a cartoon it's a cartoon for little kids. Also, most adults will see the twists coming a mile away. You're like, I know who the villain is. It's right there. But I guess for kids, little kids, it's pretty mind-blowing. They're like, no way. And, again, as I said, many valuable lessons are taught here. So yeah, kids are going to love it. Adult Transformers fans are going to appreciate it. And casuals can watch it if they know a Transformers fan or a potential Transformers fan. If Transformers isn't for you, but a little kid out there who you think it might be for, I think this would be a great way to see if it is. This should do, I think, pretty well, if not well, in theaters, but I think it's going to do very well on digital and Paramount Plus. Talk about a babysitting movie. Although it gets so serious at the end, I wonder if that would still make it qualify. And I think there's potential here for a new ongoing animated series as well. Just like Paramount has done with Sonic and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And all three of these are, Paramount, as you can see, has some great children/family brands, which is important, crucial, in fact, after they lost DreamWorks Animation to Universal. Also, there's a pretty neat new Hasbro intro for this movie. They split off. They've started, their own, before they were working with somebody else, like another executive, and now they're going to try again, they're going to reboot their movie initiative. And with that, there's a new logo. And you can see the toy brands that they have that are their priority, that they feel are their strongest. Like, for instance, Monopoly is included, and they're already working on a Monopoly movie. So that was interesting to see. All right, so I think it could have been a little bit of a better intro, to be honest with you, but I think it was an improvement on the one that they had before. All right, so that's my non-spoiler review of Transformers 1. Are you going to watch it? And if so, when and where? Theaters, digital, streaming? What are you thinking? All right, share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.